72 hours after the worst train tragedy in 3 decades, the cause of how not one or two, but 3 trains were involved in a collision occurred is still to be found. At least 275 people have been killed and over 1,000 injured. The Railways has begun its own probe under the Commissioner of Railway Safety. Meanwhile, the CBI has also been handed the responsibility of a probe after the Union Minister for Railways, Ashwini hinted at the possibility of sabotage. Today, as the extent of human tragedy unfolds, we turn our focus to the path ahead. India has one of the largest and oldest railway systems in the world. Just last year, over 5,300 million people travelled in the Indian Railways. It is truly the lifeline of the country, which is why it is so crucial to get a clear, accurate and quick idea of what exactly caused this accident. At about 7 p.m. on Friday, the Coromandel Express went off its main track onto a side track or a loop. On that side track was a stationary goods train and the Coromandel Express crashed into it. As a result of the collision, 4 to 5 coaches of the Coromandel Express toppled onto the adjacent second main track, just as the Howrah Superfast Express was crossing, and ended up hitting the last few coaches of the Howrah Express. What the probe will now look into is why the Coromandel Express went onto that side track or that loop in the first place. A green signal was given to move onto the loop track as per one account. A train changes track only when it gets a specific signal, and in this case, it will be probed whether a change was made to the system that gives the signal or there was some kind of failure in the system. But even as the probe continues, the opposition has gunned for the railway minister. They point out to 2 specific reasons why the rail minister must answer. First, a CAG report. That's the Comptroller and Auditor General report from 2022 that flags off lapses in the railway safety system. It said a majority of derailments are due to constant maintenance of tracks and overspeeding. It also said the allotment of funds for track renewal was declining and even existing funds were underutilized. Shortfalls ranging from 30 to 100% in inspections from track recording cars were reported, and a website for track maintenance was not operational. Opposition parties are also asking about an incident in Feb this year where a Southwestern Railway official wrote a letter after the Sampark Kranti Express narrowly escaped collision with a goods train. This letter pointed out serious flaws in the signalling system and warned of catastrophic accidents. Union Minister Hardeep Puri spoke out today, saying that action taken by the central government after the tragedy was commendable.
कल रात में अफेक्टेड एरिया को रिस्टोर किया गया। उसके बाद से करीब 50-60 ट्रेन्स अफेक्टेड एरिया से गुजर चुकी हैं। बहुत तेज़ी से नॉर्मलाइजेशन हो रहा है, ऑपरेशन नॉर्मलाइज हो रहा है। साथ ही साथ हम लोगों का पूरा फोकस आज दिन भर रहा किस तरह से पैसेंजर्स के परिवारों तक पहुंचकर बंगाल में, झारखंड में, बिहार में, जहाँ भी हमारे पास सूचना है वहाँ पे रेलवे के कर्मचारी कोशिश कर रहे हैं परिवारजनों के साथ संपर्क करने की। और मैं सभी देश भर में परिवारजनों को निवेदन भी करूँगा कि आपके जो भी आपको सुविधा चाहिए, जो भी आपको फैसिलिटी चाहिए, आप सारे कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर्स दिए जा चुके हैं, कॉन्टैक्ट करें और जल्दी से जल्दी इस आगे बढ़ें।
I remember a train accident when the Congress party was in power. The Congress party did not get up and say, now it is the fault of the British that the train has crashed. No, the Congress minister, I remember, said, it is my responsibility the train has crashed, I am resigning.
CBI do the criminal things, but it's the accident things. This is Railway Safety Commission is there. They used to do it first. We want that people should know the truth. It is not a time to suppress the truth.
26/11 था वो, 26/11 था। एसपीजी टीम को 10 घंटे लगे दिल्ली से मुंबई पहुंचने में। अभी हमारे जो रेल मंत्री मेरे भाई, पहले तो प्रधानमंत्री जी खुद गए और विद इन 51 आवर्स सिर्फ लाइंस रिस्टोर नहीं हुई, जो भी था इंजर्ड सब, एवरीवन हैज एन अटेंडेंट, सबके लिए व्यवस्था की गई। तो देखिए बहुत दुख की बात है कि इरेस्पॉन्सिबल स्टेटमेंट करनी, वो जिसके बाद के जिसको कह रहे हैं, जिसका इस्तीफा मांग रहे हो, 36 घंटे से वहां अपने पैरों पे खड़े हैं, वहां से निकले नहीं है।
All right, so the politics on one side, but what really is the path we should take going ahead? Is this an anomaly that we've seen with this one incident, or is there a need to spruce up and look very closely at our rail safety? Even as we speak, we know that the Railway Board has ordered a series of super checks across all the 19 sections of the railways to check this system. What is this system which could have gone wrong? To understand some of these aspects, I'm speaking today with Akhil Agarwal, former Director General S&T of the Railway Board. Sachin Bhanushali, former Indian Railway Traffic Service Officer, is with me on the show. I'm speaking with R.S. Patania, spokesperson of the BJP, and Arshpreet Khadial, spokesperson of the Congress today as well. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Headline. Mr. Agarwal, let me begin by just understanding the basic, simple idea. And for our viewers also to understand, the Coromandel Express seems to have gone onto a side track because of a signal it received. This is an electronic system from what we understand. Could this have been faulty? What are the circumstances under which a train would go off track without the right signal?
Let me first tell you about the electronic interlocking. Electronic interlocking is a microprocessor based device which has a software also. The electronic interlocking is certified as safety integrity level 4, which is the highest standard in the world. Once it is certified by an independent safety assessor, which goes into every details and then certify that a system is SIL 4 certified. Having said that, it is very unlikely that the electronic interlocking system will collapse or will give a wrong signal. The chances of a unsafe side failure in a electronic interlocking is say 1 in 10,000 year or so. So that is why electronic interlocking is completely safe. In this particular incident, what has happened was that apparently the station master is in charge of the station. He controls the trains. He has given the signal to the train to come on the main line, and he has the only means to check from his panel. His panel is available in front of him, and in the panel it was being seen that the train is coming on the main line. The points are set for the main line, and the driver has got a green signal. The driver was supposed to run at the 130 km/h when he is passing the main line, and he was running at that speed. However, the point at the site apparently was not set for the main line, and that is why the driver entered into the loop line at 130 km/h.
1 minute, sir. When you say one minute, sir.
Yeah.
When you say the point was not set for the main line and so the train entered the loop line, what does that mean in very simple terms?
In very simple terms, the point is a turnout which decides whether the train will go on the main line or whether the train will go on the loop line. In this particular case, the train should have gone on the main line because the signal was green, and it is the electronic interlocking which ensures that if the signal is green, the point is set for the main line and the line ahead is clear of all the track. The line ahead is clear of all the obstruction, there is no train on the track, and the driver can run at maximum permissible speed, which is 130 km/h in this case. The turnout is a place at which the driver goes into the loop line. The turnout is a place where either the driver takes a main line or it goes into the loop line. The turnout was supposed to have been set towards the main line, but apparently it was not set towards the main line, and that is why the train entered in the loop line.
Okay.
The loop line are normally fit for running the train from 30 to 50 km per hour, and if a train enters at 125 km per hour, even if the other train was not there, most likely it would have derailed. The other train which was standing there has made the things worse. This train went and collided with that, and that was loaded train as explained by the railway board member in the press conference, and which has led to such a catastrophe.
Okay. So let me bring in Mr. Sachin Bhanushali to take this conversation forward, and that was well explained by Mr. Agarwal. So there seems to be an error in this point system, which is why even though there was a signal to go straight ahead, the train sort of went onto a side track. Is that electronically decided where this point system goes? Is it still a manual process? Can you just give us some context on that?
Tamanna, it has been a terrible tragedy, and I think it's a heartbreaking view at the site. If we go, let's say, bring our mind to what could have possibly happened, and we'll know exactly what had happened only after the Commission of Railway Safety inquiry takes place, and the Commission of Railway Safety is a fairly independent authority working under the Ministry of Civil Aviation. So I'm sure that we will get to know the facts of the case. But the way railway functions is that the signaling mechanism, as was explained by Mr. Agarwal, is a robust mechanism, and it is a foolproof mechanism wherein when a particular train is allowed to pass through a station, first the route is set, then the route is locked, and only then you can lower the signal or give a green signal for the train to pass on that particular route. As mentioned by Mr. Agarwal, when it is passing on the main line, it is allowed to run at full speed, whereas if it has to go on the loop line, then it can go only at restricted speed. In this particular case, since the signal for the main line could be lowered, it is to be assumed that the point was supposed to have been set for the main line. It is basically a switch which decides whether the train will go to the loop line or to the main line. So the switch would have been set for the main line. And since it would have been set for the main line, the driver had the authority under the signal to take the train at 130 kilometers per hour, which was the maximum permissible speed of that train. I think what made this tragedy catastrophic and resulting into such a huge loss of life is that it resulted into double collision. First is that the Coromandel Express entered into the loop line because the switch was erroneously, anomalously set for the loop line while the signal was given on the main line, and it is something which is not under the control of the driver. The train moves on account of the mechanics of train.
Who can make this error, Mr. Bhanushali?
Probably it is too early for us to know this. It is not just about error. So there could be a failure of the electronic signaling mechanism, which could have resulted into this. And particularly because the derailment took place on account of end-on collision of Coromandel Express with the freight train standing on the loop line, resulting into the coaches of Coromandel Express being thrown off track, getting derailed. Only by itself may not have resulted into this kind of casualty. But the train on the other side again collided with the last four coaches of the train going from Yashwantpur to Howrah, collided with the derailed coaches. Or in fact, this happened while the train was passing through. That is the reason why the catastrophe of this magnitude has taken place. And I think if the train was 20-25 seconds later entering into the station, probably we would not have had this kind of catastrophic situation. Now, whether it was an error or whether it resulted on account of failure of the signaling equipment, etc., is a matter that needs to be detected or decided on the basis of evidence on the spot, as well as the evidence which will be taken on the basis of testimony which will be given by all the staff who had worked on that place. It will be too early and incorrect on the part of us to come to any conclusion at this stage on the basis of information which is available, but it was definitely something which resulted into the route being set for the loop line, the switch being operated for the loop line while the signal was given for the main line. That resulted into the driver running the train at 130 kilometers per hour, but unfortunately entering into the loop line and colliding with the stationary freight train on the loop line.
Absolutely. It was a multitude of factors that made the scale of tragedy worse. And I think Mr. Bhanushali said a very important thing. We will not know what exactly happened till there is a comprehensive probe. Now, one way or the other, even before this probe has started, it has become mired into different parties, opposition parties asking for something, the BJP saying that there could be sabotage. We still don't know what's happening. I want to start with you first, Arshpreet Khadial. Do you think it's fair at this point to say that there should be a resignation, that there was some kind of a lapse? Shouldn't you wait for a probe to come in and prove that?
Definitely not. The minister should already have resigned because 275 lives have been lost. More than 1,000 people have been injured. 3 trains have collided. It's the biggest train accident in 3 decades. And therefore, why should the minister wait to resign? It is his department, his jurisdiction. And if this has happened, they should, out of morality, resign already. And their accountability should be fixed. For so many families have been destroyed. So many single bread earners have been,
Of course. No, but I'm saying, how do you know? How do you know it's a lapse? Is a systemic failure? What has happened? Again, I ask you, isn't it too premature?
No. Inquiry is to ascertain where the lapse was, how it was, when it was, what it was. As of now, we are demanding a resignation because it was the railways minister who is supposed to ensure the safety and security of every single person who travels on an Indian train. He did not. People died. He should resign. And this wouldn't be the first time. Back in the day, Lal Bahadur Shastri Saab resigned. Nitish Kumar Saab resigned. Madhav Rao Sindha Saab resigned. But the Bharatiya Janata Party, they are more about whataboutery. This happened back in the day. This did not happen.
Okay, let me get Mr. Pathania to respond. Let me get Mr. Pathania to respond. An FIR has been filed today, just this evening, on this case, and the probe will now begin. Mr. Pathania, what would you say to the opposition parties who are asking for resignation and are saying that where is the accountability?
Tamanna, it is a tragedy and rather it's a disaster. And more disastrous is the train of events, how the opposition has behaved with regard to the train of events on the affair. What will happen? Their ego will be satisfied. They will try to derive some political mileage. This will offer some grist to their political will. They will go on speaking, distorting and all that and figures and create an issue just out of theater. Nothing. You see, one fact, very sweet and simple, that the relief and rescue, it has been unprecedented. It has been really wonderful. Though our heart goes out to all the people who have lost their lives, to all the people who have lost their limbs, injured, maimed. Our heart goes out to that. But you see the level of relief and rescue. The railway minister is there leading the relief and rescue operations from the vanguard. The Prime Minister has visited. Within 51 years, the rail traffic totally resumed. And under his leadership also, Ashwini Vaishnav also, railway has made bigger strides. Though we admit it, we shouldn't be a empty thumping a chest for all that. The Indian railway system, this needs to be discussed and debated. How we could give a 100% foolproof a sense of security to the rail passengers.
One minute. Ashpreet, 1 minute. He didn't 1 minute. Ashpreet, let him finish his point. I'll come to you. Let him finish his point.
We shouldn't distort it. We should have the capacity. We should have the courage. And we should have the conviction to discuss and debate, not to distort.
Ashpreet, let him finish, please. That's not how we debate on this show. Let him finish. Let him finish his point, and I will come to you.
You say 500 lives lost. Then you say, oh no, 235 was yesterday's numbers. You see the track record of Mamata Banerjee. You see the track record of Nitish Kumar. You see the track record of other non-Bharatiya Janata Party rules.
That's Mr. Pathania. I'm sorry. I will have to come in. I will have to come in on that. I will have to come in on that. I don't think this is the time to say that look what this minister did and that minister did.
Absolutely. This is what I'm requesting. This is what I.
No, but then don't do it yourself as well, sir.
To all the people from the opposition, sir, we should need to put out a united and a concerted view. The international community has come in support. The Virat Kohli and other people, other social figures, non-political figures, they have come in support. You see the nurses, the doctors, the naysayers, the citizens, they have come in support. You see how the people
Were there reports
outside hospitals.
Okay, 1 minute. Support is fine, but the opposition's job is to question. Yes, Arshpreet now. Arshpreet, yes.
My question, thank you, Tamanna. My question to the gentleman is very simple. Were there reports or were there not? The CAG, the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the experts had suggested of shortcomings. Despite that, why did you not do anything about that? Where was the anti-collision system? Why were you pretending that everything is all right, everything is great? You know, there are no shortcomings at all. We know it all. And if you would have worked on the shortcomings, on the deficiencies, probably it would have been averted. Probably these people still would have been alive. And all we say is that until the time, you know, the minister is found innocent, he should resign. Let the case happen. And you did not even order a time-bound inquiry. And third of all, the Bharatiya Janata Party does not clearly, want to fix the shortcomings. They're rather going into the whataboutery system, you know, what the Congress...
No, but what exactly are the shortcomings? We must have a probe first to know what the shortcomings are.
No, the safety
1
is
minute.
the duty of the minister. The safety, the shortcomings, whose responsibility is it if there are any in the Indian railway system?
Okay.
It is of the minister.
Okay,
The
1 minute,
safety
1
and
minute.
security has to be guaranteed.
Yes, 1 minute. Yes, Mr. Patania, 1 minute. Mr. Patania, the CAG report, 1 minute. I want to respond specifically on the CAG report and the February incident that has been reported widely in newspapers by now, where there was a warning about a signaling system. Was enough done to ensure that, you know, is there a sort of red flag in the system which needs to be fixed? And once again, I say at this point, we don't know what exactly happened. Was there a failure of the system? Was there a human error? We still don't know. Yes.
With due respect, the trumpeters have to trumpet only, blow the trumpets only. But the facts remains fact. Within the last 10 years of Modi Sarkar's rule, 37,159 kilometers of track, it was renewed and it was maintained. Between 2022 and 2023, 5,227 kilometers of track renewed and maintained. Kavach introduced. And as per the latest...
No, but that's not what I'm asking you, Mr. Patania. That's not what I'm asking you. We're asking today whether we need to refocus on safety.
We don't have a magic van. We have put in place cabbage. We are working towards it. I am saying very, very honestly, I'm admitting the safety of the people traveling through lane. This is basically the issue which needs to be discussed. No politics over that body. This is my humble submission, sir. No politics. We need to be concerted. We need to be united. We need to come out with a plausible solution. We need to fix it once for all. This is not the point to play politics, and this time
no, but this point about playing politics, it is the opposition's job to demand accountability and ask questions. But my only point is that we should wait for the facts to emerge. Right now, we're all just shooting in the dark. In the morning, there's a conspiracy theory about possibly some sabotage. There's an FIR that's been filed right now which only talks about negligence. So, do we know what's happening, or are we trying to position what could possibly have happened to suit the narrative? Because this is beyond that. This is real lives lost. And I think what's really going to be of value to our viewers this evening is to understand what we need to do next. Let me return to you, Mr. Agrawal, on that point. Where should the focus be? Because if this is a system which, as you mentioned in your first answer, their failure rate is 1 out of 10,000. That's the data point that you gave in your first response. The failure rate of the system is 1 out of 10,000. Don't we need to know if this was that one off chance, or is there something else going on?
No, let me first tell you that in railway, safety is always the main focus. And it's a continuous process. It's not that we are safe today and we are complacent. It's a continuous process. And any such incidents, someone was mentioning about the Southwestern Railway, another thing.
Yeah.
Any such incidents, when it is reported, it is taken very seriously and a corrective action is taken This is 100%. It's not that in any such cases that corrective action is not taken and the system is bypassed. Any such serious type of a failure which happens either in track or in signaling or in locomotive or anything, once it is reported, 100% corrective action is taken. In this particular case of Southwestern Railway also, I have been told that the Railway Board has issued a clarification that necessary action has been taken by the Southwestern Railway, and the incidence was particular to that station, and they have taken a corrective action. So first thing is safety is a continuous process. Now, and railway is always focused on safety, so we cannot say that safety is at any time we are thinking of something else and not the safety. Second thing is about the electronic interlocking failure. The chances are that it has not failed. But like you say, what I have said is one in 10,000 years. So 1 in 10,000 years, can it be that one? But the fair chances is that electronic interlocking would not have failed. How it has happened, that is a matter to be investigated, and this is being investigated by the experts.
So if I understand correctly, if the system has not failed, sir, just for my understanding, and please, you know, I know you're the expert, we're the lay people, but just to understand, if the system has not failed, then the other option is human error. It can be either this or that.
It can be apparently it is interference with the system, tampering of the system. Whether it is done by the who has done it, how it has happened, and what was the motive behind it, that is something which is to be investigated, and that is why probably the government has said that the CBI should also inquire whether there was any criminal intent or whether there was any what was the reason behind any tampering, if at all. What?
So whether there was negligence or there was a criminal intent. Okay.
Just one line.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Arshpreet.
The previous railway ministers did not wait for inquiries to be done. Out of morality, out of accountability, they resigned as soon as the incident happened. But the Bharatiya Janata Party apparently never wants to admit.
Now, Arshpreet, we spoke about that. I want to understand what has happened. You made that point. You made that point, and we debated it.
No. It's not just about that. The point here is that the minister has everything.
This is not the point.
It's his jurisdiction. It is his department. It is his ministry. All we are saying is that one, there is no time-bound inquiry that you've ordered. Why is it not time-bound? Why do we not want the justice to be expedited? The amount of focus that the Bharatiya Janata Party shows for advertising, marketing, PR, so 10% of that to give justice.
I'm going to wrap it here, but I want one quick comment from Sachin Bhanushali. Let's listen to the experts. Tonight, let's listen to the experts who live, breathe railways, and have worked in them for decades. They obviously know much more than all of us do on this panel. So let's listen to them. Let's hear their voice. Mr. Sachin Bhanushali, what would you like to see as a precedent that this does not happen again? We understand that the magnitude was terrible because of, you know, a set of circumstances. That there was a goods train there and then another train passing, and then that just made it, compounded the tragedy. But what would you like to see as a process to move forward and ensure this does not occur again?
Yeah, Tamanna, I think that's a very important point that needs to be kept in mind, is that we learn from whatever tragic incident has happened and how do we move forward from here. I think two important components of Indian railway system that need to be kept in mind is that it's a mixed system wherein freight trains as well as passenger services, which are high speed as well as slow speed trains, run on the same network. That's the first component of it. The second component of it is that Indian railway network is a fairly congested network. In fact, there are routes on which the capacity utilization is way above 100% utilization as calculated theoretically. So it does result into stress on the system, as well as gives very little time for maintenance point of view. The maintenance staff is also under time pressure in order to ensure that all preventive as well as curative maintenance are done under the schedule which is available to them. I think going forward, 2-3 things that need to be done is that we need to create adequate capacity. And that adequate capacity has to be capacity not for today, but for decades to come. So additional capacity, particularly on the congested route, has to be a priority. And As we can see, the dedicated freight corridor which has been created on the north to east as well as north to west route is definitely going to help there. Second is separation of passenger traffic from freight traffic, which is again being achieved by dedicated freight corridor. It gives you two advantages. One is that it releases a huge amount of capacity in the existing network for running more passenger carrying trains, be those of faster speed or slower speed. And at the same time, freight trains which need not stop at each of the stations where passenger carrying trains are required to be stopped can be carried on the freight network, which is a dedicated freight network. And it also ensures that there is a fair amount of separation of passenger services from freight services. So the kind of, let's say, the rear end collision which resulted into the Coromandel Express getting into a compromised situation, as well as resulting into collapsing of the coaches of Coromandel Express, later on side collision with the other train which was passing on the other track, will of course be minimized on account of that. So my prescription here would be creating capacity ahead of demand, as well as separation of freight.
We have to start looking at those long-term solutions as well. We need a quick time-bound probe as well, because we need to understand quickly what has happened. This is the last moment where we should have rumors and speculation. Let's have the truth, let's have it clearly, and let's have it quick. I have to wrap right now. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this discussion, because even as I speak about the story and the horrific human tragedy, there is one miracle that we have to report about today. And it's the determination and the love of a father who refused to accept his son's reported death. It led to a dramatic journey of over 230 kilometers in an ambulance. Let's see if you can pull up the stills of that father who just refused to give up. Biswajit Malik was believed to have died in the tragic Odisha train accident, and he was eventually located by his father in a makeshift morgue in Balasore. His father, Helaram Malik, when he received the news and he spoke to his son, who said he was in intense pain, came out over 200 kilometers away with an ambulance to look for him, finally winded up in a morgue where his son was left for dead, and then found him alive and took him home to recuperate. We spoke to this brave father.
जब ट्रेन का एक्सीडेंट हुआ था, आपने अपने बेटे से बात किया, फिर क्या आपने किया, क्या आपको पता चला?
আমাকে ওর মানে যে আঘাত লেগেছিল সেই আঘাত অবস্থাতেই কথা বলেছিল, স্পষ্ট কথা হয়নি, শুধু এটুকুই বুঝতে পেরেছি যে ট্রেন অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট হয়েছে, ওর অবস্থাটা খুব একটা ভালো না। তারপরে বেহুশ হয়ে যায়, বেহুশ হয়ে যাওয়ার পরে স্পটের কিছু লোক ভেবেছে মারা গেছে, তার উপরে কিছু লাশ ফেলেও দিয়েছিল। তো ওর লাশ ফেলে দেওয়ার পরে ওর যখন হুঁশ আসে, তখন ও দেখে ওর উপরে ৮-১০টা লাশ পড়ে আছে, এবং বাঁ হাতটা ওর ভালো ছিল বলে ও হাত বাড়িয়ে স্পটের যে সব লোক ছিল তাদেরকে জানায়, হাত নাড়িয়ে জানায়, তখন তারা এসে উদ্ধার করে।
আপনি जो लड़का है बिस्वजीत,
and while we're talking about